And getting started. My name is David Bach. I think I know, just looking around, lots of familiar faces, but those I haven't met yet. I'm Deputy Dean here at Yale School of Management, and really excited to welcome you to today's talk. Our gratitude to Salle for yet again bringing us together on one of the most pressing issues of our time, which is, of course, climate change, and in particular what the business community can do to lead on this issue. And we're thrilled to have with us Carlos Sallé, who I'll introduce in a moment, who heads energy policies and climate change at Iberdrola. Iberdrola has been a leader in this space for more than a decade, for close to 15 years, really. And as some of you may know, I spent quite a bit of time in Spain before moving here to the US. And at the time already, Iberdrola was bold in leading efforts into the renewable space, and to the extent to which Spain has been seen globally as a leader in wind and solar in particular, Iberdrola deserves much of the credit. But we don't have to go that far, because now Iberdrola is right here next door after a number of acquisitions. If you recognize the logo on the screen from your energy bill, it's because we're now part of the Iberdrola customer base here as well. And so it's only proper that we get to hear from you, Carlos, about the company, its vision for a future of renewable energy. And in particular, I think, how the company is dealing with the many political, financial, technical, regulatory complexities. So Carlos is the perfect person to speak to us about that. He is an industrial engineer. He graduated from the best engineering school in Spain. I say that in part because my wife graduated from the same engineering school in Spain, but it really is the best engineering school in Spain. He's been with Iberdrola for 17 years and now heads up their climate change program. And he'll start us off with some introductory comments and some data, and then we'll sit down, have a conversation, and involve all of you. Please join me in welcoming Carlos to Yale. Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you very much for the invitation for be here. To be here in Yale is an honor for me. I would like to introduce some aspect of our company in order for you to know that the level that we have achieved in the leadership of as an industrial company, and also as a company that is trying to be leader also in fighting against climate change. The fact is that, for instance, we have 48,000 megawatts of installed capacity. Of those, close to 30,000 megawatts are renewables. The figure is impressive if you compare, for instance, only 2 countries in Africa has more installed capacity in all their generation assets, more than our renewables portfolio, that are Egypt and South Africa. And the same in South Africa, in South America, only Brazil and Argentina has more installed capacity than our renewables. So it's a very big number. We have 100 million served population. We have more than 600,000 shareholders. And well, we are in this moment in a situation that we have multiplied in the last 16 years by 4 our assets, by 4 our employees, by 5 our EBITDA, by 4 or 5 all our financial and our physical numbers. And we are mainly located in UK, Mexico, United States, Brazil, and Spain, and we have a workforce of 35,000 employees. 16 years ago, we decided that fulfilling Kyoto signals will be the driver of our company. In this moment, we invest in wind energy. In this moment, the wind energy was in an innovation and research phase. we have a lot of critics from our competitors. By the way, we were the 20th company by market capitalization in the world, and the 7th in Europe. But we start with this driving strategy of mitigating the climate change, and we start closing our oil and coal plants, and also investing a lot in renewables. We reduce in these 16 years 75% our CO2 footprint, and we invest a lot of money in renewables and also in networks for allowing to integrate the renewables in the system. In the DNA of the company, in order to make pressure for the managers and also to our competitors, we introduce in the governance documents that are mandatory for the managers the SDGs, also the climate change as the main driver of the company. Also, we changed the financial dividend for the social dividend, and we extend the shareholders as the final receivers of our revenues to the more extent universe of stakeholders. We decide to fight against climate change, as I mentioned, and we have defined four pillars. One, the first is to keep on investing in renewables. The other one is to put commitments publicly in United Nations in order to press ourselves and to make pressure to other competitors, and we establish objectives, milestones are in commitment for 2020, 2030, and 2050 for reduction of our footprints. Apart from that, we also are dealing with the SDG number 7, that is giving electricity for all the people that in this moment don't have or lack of it. And also we have launched a very relevant program of awareness, because we think that the citizens and the society has to make pressure to corporation and to the administration for fighting against climate change. And we have launched, we can talk later about that, and we are very proud of this awareness plan. And this is the past. We want to keep on being a leader, an industrial leader, and we are investing in the next 4 years 32 billion euros in renewables and in networks. And also we keep on trying to fulfill the commitment that we have with the SDG number 7 and number 13. We are very happy because we have demonstrated that the transition to the green economy is not an issue that have to be with small startups that are completely renewables. We have demonstrated that a very big corporation also have a lot to say in fighting against climate change, and we have demonstrated with this transition from being number 20 in market capitalization to be now the number 4th, that what is an investment decision that is good for the planet and for the citizen is also good for our shareholders. So that is very relevant, and this is more or less the main aspect of the company that I would like to present to you in order to you to know what's Iberdrola. What are the decision making that push us in the route to maintain the decision to fight against climate change with an investment plan in renewables? Well, there are the main levers. First, there are 200 countries that have signed a Paris Agreement, so they are fulfilling a lot of new regulation that will make pressure to all the companies that want to invest in the energy sector. The second is that the IPCC, the studies of the IPCC, are announcing the problem that will come, but also for the current situation, the studies in the past are less aggressive than the reality of the climate in this moment. So in the last months, we can test how the unprecedented climate events has arrived previously to the announcement that the IPCC has told. So we are, contrary to a denier, we are completely convinced that the climate change is a problem for the planet and has been created by the human being. We also, another mega trend is the involvement of the civil society. It's not a problem of the solution will come from the administration, the government. I think that the religions, the social agents, and the citizens in general are much more involved in the solution of the climate change problem. And also, there is another mega trend, is that the involvement of the subnational entities that are dealing with this problem, the regional organization, the states in some cases, and these are much more agile than the multilateral organization or the federal governments. The other very good news is that the technology is available at very competitive cost. The disruption that we have had in the electricity sector is impressive in the last 4 years. I have a slide with the last auction that we have had in all the world. And for instance, I can say that in the tariff in Spain, we have included the cost of the PV in the last 5 years, and was 450 euros per megawatts. And in this moment, in the auctions, are below 20. So imagine the reduction of cost, impressive reduction of cost of this technology. So, well, this is give more chance to achieve a solution for the climate change. The other issue that we are seeing as an investor is that CO2 signals are every time much more developed in different countries, or for instance in Europe, where we have the ETS, they are moving to reinforce the signal and to increase the signal. So those that will invest in new technologies for in the electrical sector will have problem if they decide to go with coal, oil, or even gas. The air quality, for me, this is my personal impression, will be the main driver for the decarbonization, much more than the CO2. Why? Because air pollution is much closer to the citizen than the CO2 problem. And also because the administration that are responsible for solving the problem are the city halls or village responsible are much more agile than the multilateral administration or the federal administration. So constraints that are introduced in the vehicles to go to the cities and new regulation on other pollutants are making much more for the decarbonization than the CO2. And finally, the other mega trend is that the financial sector has trust that the climate change will be a problem and remains being a problem. And they are every time producing more pressure on the corporations if they don't decarbonize their strategies. Some examples, I put here some examples, we can talk about that later, but the stranded asset that appears is a very problematic issue for people that decide to invest in something that could be stranded in the future. BlackRock, another very big investor, has pushed a lot of pressure on those that don't decarbonize their investment. The insurance companies. We will talk about later about the task force on climate disclosure that is making a lot of pressure again on the companies in order to detect those greenwashers in the long-term strategy. And well, there's a lot of other activities. I put here some examples, and I will not stop that. But I would like to put this extract of phrases of the CEO of BlackRock. BlackRock is the main fund in the world. And they put these phrases that are very relevant for me. And this is not only related with the decarbonization of the economy, but in a more broad way, is talking about the social agenda, the SDGs. And my favorite phrase is that companies must benefit all their stakeholders, including shareholders, employees, customers, and the communities in which they operate, and giving a contribution for achieving its full potential. If we don't fulfill that, and it's said by the people that give us one of the main costs that we have is the capital cost, and they are saying that if we don't respect this strategy, they will go to other companies that respect that, and this make a lot of pressure on the company and the strategies. And at the end, this is a win-win decision to be a SDG, as I call SDG company, that they respect the SDGs agenda, because you will have more revenues because the society will buy your products instead of the competitors that are not SDG company. The capital market will reduce your costs. You will retain talent at less cost because people are happy of working in a company and so on. So at the end, it's a win-win strategy and give you real benefits. We are focusing in two of the SDGs. Number 7, that is investing in renewable and giving access to those that don't have in this moment, and also in the 13, not forgetting the remaining goals. I'm very happy that the third objective that we are focusing is in the empowerment of women in number 5. And I also am happy because Tamara, I don't know, Tamara, where is it? Have respond to me that in jail you have parity in this moment. So I think it's a very important.
If you're generous in rounding, but not quite yet. We're working towards that. So. We're not quite there. We're 43%, I think, women in our MBA program. But on the faculty side, we have to work also. So, but let's work on this together. We have work to do.
No, congratulations for that, because it's a very important issue. Well, we work in these two goals, and we have the responsibility that electricity is very horizontal in order to achieve the rest of the goals. Because if you don't have electricity, you don't have sanitation, you don't have education, a lot of problems. So that could, in the program that we have, that is called Electricity for All, we arrive to the villages that the lacks of electricity, and you go 5 years later and completely has changed the situation in this region. Okay, well, this is the one that I described. We are leaders now in this moment for renewables. We are also very happy because we are helping others to transit to the green economy. And for instance, there are a shipyard in Spain. It's called Navantia, that we have convinced them that changing some part of the process to manufacture boats, they can produce the jackets that we will use in our offshore projects, and they perform very well. And we have contract in this moment three of our offshore. 2 of them are already functioning, and they have other contract with other companies, and so they have changed monothematic manufacture to another more oriented to the green economy. So we are very happy of that, and we are trying to have a leadership also in the offshore development. The action plan, as I told you, is these 4 pillars. We are supporting those administrations that are responsible for establishing all the requirements for fighting against climate change. We participate with the United Nations in the last 3 COPs. We also are in all the coalitions because we think that we have to work in alliances in this world. But we are in the Carbon Pricing Leadership Coalition, World Business Council for Sustainable Development, the Corporate Leader Group, Women Business, International Energy Agency, and so on. Also, we have the internal awareness plan with a lot of different products, documentaries for young people, because young people are the next policy makers in the future. And also they are pressing maybe some minister that his father is minister, and when they are looking at some theater play that we have developed concerning climate change, they press their parents for doing that, and so on. And also, the other part, the internal part, is we have present mitigation commitments, also adaptation plans for that. We have changed the bylaws, and also we are leaders in this moment in the use of green financing. In this moment, we have 7 billion euros in green funds, and also more than 4 billion euros in credit lines. Green credit lines. These are the 4 lines of action in social awareness. We made some studies to demonstrate, this is for Spain, to demonstrate that it's feasible to decarbonize the economy in Spain. And we are the only company that has presented this sort of studies. And with this, we increase a lot of the electrification, we increase the energy efficiency, and we give all the electricity production with renewables. So we demonstrate that it's feasible. The first thing is feasible, and also we demonstrate that has a lot of opportunities in terms of economy, security of supply, and environmental. I will not stop here. We can talk later about these advantages and these opportunities, but this is a key issue. In the past or now are people that are saying that the energy transition is a costly issue, and we defend that is a win-win issue if you are supported by good decisions. We think that is essential. We can talk later about that. The internalization of the externalities that are not being included in the prices in this moment. And if you take that, and if you take into consideration the loss of GDP produced by air pollution and climate change, and you calculate the net present value of these future impacts that you have, for instance, in a country like Spain that will suffer a lot with in the tourism or in the agriculture or in the water management, and you put this net present value in the cost of the traditional technologies, you know that the competitiveness of the electric vehicles or the solar or the rest of renewables are very competitive. We have some examples demonstrating that the electric vehicle, if you introduce the externalities and you eliminate some barriers that are currently in suffering in the electricity, you have in this moment the parity of competitiveness between the electric vehicle and the conventional vehicle. Well, and my final remarks are that for the decarbonization, we need 2 essential things that don't depend on us. Is the administration putting clear signals, not incoherent. We can talk later about the incoherence in some countries. And also, we have to receive the support or the penalties of the citizens. For that reason, we think that it's very important to the education of the citizens in order to produce this change in this transition process. We need all the stakeholders, administration, business, NGOs, everybody, with all the levers, innovation, financing, investing, and with all the ambition to solve a very complex problem, but that has, as I mentioned before, a solution with the situation that we have. Because if not, as Mr. Ban Ki-moon said when somebody asked him, what's the plan B if we don't fulfill the Paris Agreement? Well, we don't have plan B because there is no planet B. So we have to struggle looking for these alliances, looking for this solution that exist. And if we switch the fighting against climate change from being a cost to be an opportunity. Okay, thank you, and we can talk.
Excellent. Please join me here. I have so many questions, but I want to give all of our guests here an opportunity to ask questions as well. Let me start with one, perhaps, which is you talked to us at the end about the need for stable frameworks, and I'd love for you to just talk a little bit about how you think about time and how you think about stability. So let me explain what I mean by that. On the one hand side, as a utility, you're thinking very long term. When you make investments in generation capacity or you enter new markets, you're thinking 10, 15, 20, 30 years, right? At the same time, it certainly feels where I sit, and I think where many people in the room sit, like there's so much volatility. Right? One day there's good news, the next day there's bad news. What do I mean by that? Right? We bring all countries together and then the biggest one pulls out. But then the cities are in. But then companies are leading, but some other companies are not. And then, so there's so much volatility and turbulence in the public policy debate, but also in terms of the decisions companies are making. How do you keep the organization focused on some of these long-term goals, these long-term drivers along the lines that you explained, right? Investment, not cost. Air pollution is a big issue. We need to get the policy framework right. How do you ensure your organization thinks long-term while at the same time you deal with the volatility in the policy space in particular?
Well, I think that with analysis multi-level that I have presented is one of the ways, you know. You can have a mega trends, air pollution, you can have mega trends of the reduction of cost of technology, you can have a mega trends that people are more involved in fulfilling the SDGs. At the end, if you follow only one of these mega trends, you can have more instability in your decision-making process. But if all of these are saying the same, I think that you can, in the road, you can have some stone, you know, but
like a bump in the road, but yes. You don't. It doesn't matter.
And the other issue is that I am very impressed with a presentation that has been by, I don't know if you know him, is Michael Liebridge from Bloomberg, and he tells that the road is plenty of people, companies that trust in their own forecasts that are biased by themselves. They put forecasts with the future that they want, not that the future that is reliable to be arrived. So in this moment, we have a lot of debates with some forecasts that are very biased by the will of the people, not with the facts. You know, for instance, we have made a study of the penetration of electric vehicles in 2040, made by different institutions. Well, there are some institutions or companies that are saying no, electric vehicle in 2040 will be only 5%. Yeah. You can imagine who is saying that. Yeah. But you see that people are analyzing these facts and making a lot of different forecasts based on the reduction of cost and the problem of constraint to use cars in the cities because of the air pollution, and say, hey, this will be a positive feedback and reduction of cost of batteries and car. So at the end, my forecast for the future based on these facts is that penetration for 2040 is 40%. But this same amount we have analyzed that, for instance, a monetary fund says that if we don't go to penetration of 90%, the words exactly are in Spanish, I know, is toast, fried, and the other born, or something like that. So the monetary fund is saying that climate change is a very real problem of human beings, so we have to solve that. So if the institutions that are responsible for that, United Nations, the Monetary Fund, the capital market are saying that, they are moving also the future. And the forecasts are more aligned with this, that is based in the fact that climate change is a reality and the technology is there. And if you push for the technology, you have a solution for this problem, than those that are denying this problem and want to maintain the status quo.
So I like that. So if you have your internal forecasts, you look at the long-term trends, they all point you in the right direction, it becomes the purpose of the enterprise, you can start screening out perhaps some of the news and some of the volatility and some of the other studies. But let me then flip this around, which is, this is such an urgent problem, right? So even though I think you're right that air pollution is a way of mobilizing a lot more, particularly of a skeptical public in support of clean energy than perhaps climate change alone. And here at Yale, people are doing studies about this, and they're showing that to some extent, right? The data that is coming out at the IPCC, as you said, is alarming. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, you said 70% of the portfolio is renewable at this point at Iberdrola? Was that the figure?
Well, 66% is without emissions.
Without emissions. So how do you then set the timing for going, for example, to 100%? Or in other words, how do you, in light of the urgency of the problem, how do you pace yourself in driving the change? Because part of your success has been that you've been doing this steadily and gradually in a way that keeps all stakeholders on board, right? Your investors, your employees, public policy. How do you keep moving steadily? I think you explained, but how do you figure out how fast you want to move, given that the problem is so urgent?
Well, we are moving very fast. For instance, you know that in the reports of International Energy Agency, they are saying that you need to be below 450 parts per million of CO2 concentration. In this moment, our portfolio produces 170, right. Less than 30. If everybody produced that...
so if your energy mix were the global energy mix, then we'd be at 170.
Yes. So we are doing a lot. Now our emissions come from a new combined cycle that we have invested in mainly in Mexico, because we have switched from oil, very obsolete, and reducing up to the third part the emission in Mexico, and well, we have the compromise, the commitment to be carbon neutral in 2050. So we are saying that in this moment, all these plants has to be closed. And this is not an obligation that is imposed by others. It's a self-commitment that we have. What is right is that in those sectors that have more possibility to reduce emissions, and the electricity sector, the energy sector, has this capacity, has to fulfill more commitments than others. Agriculture has more problems to solve their problems. So, for instance, transport has to do much more than the one that they have in this moment. Buildings also, the isolation is very relevant to be treated. And this study that we have made for Spain allows to detect 100 of barriers to the decarbonization. For instance, the use of railroad with electricity instead of oil or coal. The use in Spain, for instance, is a very oriented country for the tourism. We have a lot of boats of tourism that arrive to the harbors and remain using the diesel, the bunker machines when they are inside the harbor, having problem with CO2, but mainly with the other pollutants. Why you don't electrify or gasify, but electrify, and when you arrive to the port, you connect that. And it's a very easy investment, but we have this problem. So we detect a list of different barriers that many of them are very easy to change and to solve a lot of that. You know? So in buildings is a problem because you have an asset that have a very long life, and it's problematic to change the isolation of that. But for instance, the use of heat pump, the heat pump is impressive in the introduction of efficiency. Instead of electrical caldera?
Electrical heating.
Heating, or gas. Introduce 400 efficiency. So nobody can beat the efficiency of the heat pump, but in Spain we don't have, for instance, a massive installation of heat pump. For instance, in Norway.
So can I ask you, is that something that you would take on then? If your portfolio includes energy policies, right? Do you inject yourself into some of those conversations in Spain to create more favorable public policies, for example, for the adoption of heat pumps?
Well, in Spain, in this moment, we are debating a new law for climate change and energy transition. And we have presented all these studies, very complex studies, to the administration. And we have we made a road show because I think that we are the only company, the energy company, that has presented a very detailed study. But we have learned a lot of this study. For instance, the use of thermal renewables, solar panels for thermal heating. Is not efficient in the future because of the reduction of the cost of photovoltaics. You install a photovoltaic in your house, and you will have the requirement for the electricity and also to heat the water.
Electricity to heat is going to be more efficient.
So these sort of things, we have presented that, and well, we have a lot of meetings with car manufacturers. We have meetings with the Ministry of Transport, with the Ministry of Buildings, and well, we interact with them and say, hey, if you have to change this normative, take into account the heat pump, you know, or something like that. And we have in this, we have analyzed the experience in other countries in order to say, in Norway, they are using a lot the heat pump. And the efficiency of the heat pump in a country that only use it for heating, imagine in a country like Spain that you can use it for cooling and for heating. So it's impressive the advantages that put that. We are very surprised with the barriers that are very easy to remove, and nobody in the past has taken into account. And the other very important issue is what can be done by each of us. Each of us. For instance, buying fruits when you go to the market, depending on the fruits, some of them are coming to Spain with a long process of transport and using a lot of CO2. So if people don't know that, they don't change the habit, and the sum of millions of decisions of the citizens change a lot. The efficiency, the footprint, and so on.
Let me open it up to the audience and see what questions there are. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you for coming. I guess your last comment is perfect for the question that I have. You mentioned that air pollution is going to be the main driver for for climate change, or for the commitment to climate change, because it's basically what citizens feel on their day-to-day basis, which I completely agree. What role do you think a utility company like yours have to educate citizens and consumers at the end that are using electricity on a day-to-day basis, and whether you guys are actually doing some or have some program that educate these consumers? I'm thinking like, I don't even know, for example, where my electricity comes from. And that is since I don't live in Shanghai, or I don't live in highly polluted cities, maybe I don't feel it on a day-to-day basis. Maybe something like that, like kind of educating the consumer where your electricity comes from would be useful or not.
Well, I think, I don't know other companies. I know what we are doing in Iberdrola. I think with talking with other companies and talking with people in United Nations, when we present our awareness plan, is that we are very unique in the powerful awareness plan. Marta is here, is the mother of the awareness plan, and that we have in Iberdrola. And you don't know at the end who is the person who will change some important normative or something like that. Maybe in one of the products that we have launched is that theater play for very young people from 6 to 12 that we have made in Spain. Is a very nice for young. When they receive all the problem of the climate change, we have to take care of the earth or something like that. They finish the theater play very motivated, and maybe they arrive to their house, and maybe some of them is the son of the minister. This minister that we have problem with because we have the decision to close a plant, a coal plant, and they don't want we to close the plant. So maybe the son convince their father, you have to be care of the planet, you know. So we have this.
We've had some mixed experience in this country with children convincing decision makers to do something about climate change.
Well, I don't know. I have a lot of confidence in the position of young people, but we also have other stations. For instance, with ISEC. ISEC is an organization of, and we have also.
I was just joking. I think it's exactly right what you're doing, but you know that exact play didn't work quite as well as we had hoped here. I think, right?
Well, universities. Internal people in the company, we have an internal course that we are surprised because without mandatory decision of doing that, I don't know the numbers, but Marta can tell us. There's a lot of people very happy of having skills for in their dinners with friends, defending why our company is defending the fighting against climate change. And this disseminates a lot, the knowledge, a lot, the awareness plan. We also have launched, with the help of a very important person of the media, a documentary. Based on the problems is the history of 3 young people in Spain, in the university of different countries that analyze the problem of climate change and at the end says we have solution. And well, it's a positive documentary, but has been passing in a very high or important TV in Spain, and we have given to the United Nations to spread and to whatever one that. We have a lot of these awareness initiatives. I don't know. We have a lot of alliances. We are going to, for instance, for the 3 years in a row, an initiative that we call Moving for Climate Now, that is. Going to the COP in Paris and Marrakech and also in in Bonn this year, biking, in electrical biking, with people of different organizations, of NGOs, Red Cross, ecologists, International Energy Agency, universities, financial people for green bonds, a lot of people presenting a manifesto to the organizers of the COP. Well, in the meantime, in every stage, when we leave the bike, we debate, for instance, climate change and young people, climate change and cities, climate change and sport, whatever things, with the people that are invited, giving all of them their position. And at the end, we are paying this process, but at the end, nobody knows that this is paid by Iberdrola. The important is that there is an alliance of people of different positions and different institutions that are going to the COP saying, please, more ambition, more ambition. And everybody with the dress, nobody knows if you are from a company or an NGO, and going there and, hey, this society is claiming that you solve the problem of the planet.
Let's get some more questions. Yeah, sir.
How will you may not be as familiar locally as we are, but how will you flow down the Iberdrola goals and objectives to the local utility, and will that affect their lobbying at the state capital, Hartford?
Well, my direction reports directly to the chairman, and the chairman has a lot of intervention, at least every 3 months, presenting results. And during the last years, apart from respond to the economical and financial and investment plans that we present, and we want to be evaluated by a lot of people, we present also and reinforce our role on climate change fighters. You can see any presentation of our chairman, and all of them reinforce that the main driver of the company is the fighting against climate change. This is the first, because the first issue, and all the reports that we present yesterday. I have meetings with people in Avangrid saying what are our role in United Nations, what are we defending, and well, I think that the advantage of being in Iberdrola is that we have a speech that is oriented with the needs of the social agenda. So maybe if I am in other company, I have more problems to be happy defending the strategy of the company. But what is right is that we are very clear in the messages. We are, and the multilateral organization and United Nations ask us that go and defend this position as a big corporate, in order to say, hey, again, it's not only an issue of small, smart startups that are defending the green economy. Big corporations are also aligned with this.
So when you make an acquisition, then you come with the essence of the company. So you change the energy mix, and you also change the way that new part of your company relates to stakeholders, including around public policy. So that's
completely.
Well,
and putting in another way, this is one part. Another part is that we will not buy an oil company.
Yeah.
No.
Sure. So I was going to ask you more questions about who do you buy and how do you think about this, but there are more questions, ma'am. Please go ahead.
Thank you. You mentioned in your presentation the importance of having clear carbon pricing signals. And obviously that's not widespread. Like in Europe, we can see some of that. The US doesn't have anything like it. So I was wondering if within Iberdrola, you guys are thinking of like an internal carbon pricing for yourselves. If not, if you're doing it, how would you think of doing that? And just speak to that a little bit more?
No, with CO2 pricing, I think that it's very relevant to have a very powerful signal. But as I mentioned, maybe other signals are more powerful in this moment than the CO2 pricing. In the past, and we are struggling going to all the coalitions. We are in the CPLC of the World Bank, where Marta is also working, defending a very powerful signal. We are also presenting a lot of proposal for changing the ETS in Europe in order to have more powerful and to retire some of the free allowances, because if not, this price is not useful for the change. We use internally also, but it's very easy, because at the end, using carbon price, the result that we have is that never we invest in coal or oil investments, So we are using that. We are in internal price. The problem is that in this moment, this will not be the key issue for the transition. Maybe, for instance, the CO2 pricing for the transport will not be the issue. Will not be the issue. Maybe the best way to make the transition in the transport is with constraints, or to internalize the externalities.
Pollution as opposed to CO2, or I mean
No, I think that
because you showed the data on sort of how electric vehicles would be already cost competitive if some of the externalities were internalized. That was not carbon.
No, well, we include that
Right.
30 euros per ton in CO2, but we add the other externality, because at the end you have problem with all the externalities, CO2, but the other pollutants are. I think it's very relevant, but has less potential needed than in the past, because we have the level of the other problem that has arisen in the last year, that is the air pollution. China is presenting as the leader of the transition once. The United States federal government has retired for this role, but it's not because they want to preserve the planet. It's because they are dying of air pollution. So because of the sources that creates the climate change are the same that create the air pollution, they are taking advantage of that, and also the same mechanism to solve the climate change for the decarbonization are the same than are needed for solving the problem of air pollution.
I think we have one more question. Let me see. All right, go ahead. No. Yeah, I think. Just wanted to do a scan first, but go ahead.
You said that it's not so costly doing this fundamental transformation of a huge company like Iberdrola. So which one do you think are your key factors to have been successful to do that? Because even you say, green investments, whatever, a lot of policies, but 2 or 3 key factors that you think that are good things to do for these companies to make this change happen?
Well, I think that the very big key issue is to anticipate a vision where others didn't anticipate. And for us, everybody's talking about the revolution of the situation, the disruption of the technologies. But for us, it's an evolution. We have an evolution because we start 16 years ago, closing our coal plants, closing our oil plants, investing and innovating and so on. Those that has used the forecast that they want, not the forecast that the facts are saying, have a revolution to adapt. There are some companies that are very bad position because they have all their assets completely apart of the needed for the decarbonization of the economy. So I think that this is the main role, and the other is to establish some mechanisms to make some pressures, not only for other competitors, putting very powerful commitment for the future, but also making pressure for the managers of the company. And for that reason, it's very relevant to change the governance documents, the bylaws, the mission, vision, code of ethics, in order to include that, because this makes a lot of pressure on that. And the third issue is this commitment is not only needed for the long term, because the greenwasher appears. If you put some commitment for 2020, the responsible of achieving this commitment is those that are taking decision now. And probably our chairman, I hope so, our chairman will remain in 2020. I hope also me to remain in the company. And we will be responsible of fulfilling that. If you put milestone only for 2050, that is useless.
But you need both, right? Because at the same time,
completely.
So I know we're out of time. I want to ask one last question, which is, how can people get involved? Are you hiring? Where should people send resumes to? How is that?
No, well, I think this is a win-win. You know, if you want to apply to Iberdrola, you have to know that we are a very interesting company, a very relevant company in the global context. We have also a lot of things concerning with the social environment and respecting SDGs. And for Iberdrola, it's also a good deal to have contact with one of the biggest and the most recognized institution in the university as Yale. So well, I hope that this proximity will give a good result for the future.
I do so too, and I'm very confident, and I think we can learn a lot from you. Many of the issues that you spoke about, and many that we didn't even get to, such as the role of the SDGs and how you organize this cultural change. I mean, those are burning questions. We debate them in our classroom every day, and I think to have you come here and share with us how Iberdrola has been doing this for many years against some odds. I mean, it must be wonderful to get Larry Fink's letter, but I'm sure you got lots of letters before that told you, what on earth are you doing? And so I want to just applaud you and your colleagues for their leadership, and thank you for sharing some of those lessons with us. And I hope that this is just the beginning of a long dialogue about these really, really important questions. Yeah. So please join me in thanking Carlos. Muchísimas gracias. Vamos a tener algunas preguntas más. La gente se va a acercar.
Vale, perfecto.